Doctor Strange, directed by Scott Derrickson, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Rachel McAdams, Benedict Wong, Mads Mikkelsen, and Tilda Swinton. It's the movie in which things began to change for the MCU because it finally introduces magic and says, you know what, not everything has to be really grounded in technology or science anymore. The story opens with Dr. Stephen Strange, an extremely successful and talented, but also arrogant neurosurgeon, having a car crash, a very serious one. It leaves him a broken man because the nerves in his hands and his fingers are completely destroyed, which means his career would basically be over. He seeks various forms of treatment unsuccessfully until finally his search around the world takes him to Nepal, to a place called Kamartaj, where it turns out magic is real and it could potentially heal his hands, but perhaps there is a grander purpose that Strange could commit himself to. So a lot of the people have criticized the film, saying that it's a rehash of Iron Man. Arrogant guy has a life-threatening situation happen to him. He reevaluates his life and becomes a superhero. And if you simplify it like that, it's technically true. But to me, Strange is so much more than that. I always felt that the movie was very mature in the way that it portrayed Strange's ways of dealing with the accident, his inability to cope and accept help, his prevailing arrogance and frustration, the way he's mean to Christine Palmer, and then the way that's contrasted with the apparent patience and calm of the people in Kamartaj, particularly the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, who, by the way, is one of my favorite actresses all around. And this movie, I think it wouldn't be the same with her. There was a lot of controversy when she was cast because in the comic books, the Ancient One is, first of all, he's a dude, and secondly, he's an old Asian dude, and so people were saying, oh, it's whitewashing and so on. But the thing is, Tilda has this kind of androgynous quality to her, much like, I don't know, David Bowie had. That I feel watching her, the gender doesn't really matter as much because she has such a unique presence to her. So I think that change ultimately ends up working, and she's able to bring that certain gravity to the role, the certain calm, dignity, and wisdom that still has elements of uncertainty and fragility underneath. It's a very, very human performance, and her final conversation with Strange in the astral forms in the hospital is just downright a fantastic scene. So poignant, so elegantly made, one of my favorites in Marvel. I also like the way Strange's character is developed throughout. His reluctance to fight, but at the same time no hesitation when it comes to saving lives, and that moment where he is finally forced to kill another person to survive, and then the way that resonates with him as a conflict with his Hippocratic oath. Really interesting way to look at these things. Then we have the fantastic finale, which remains very inventive in the superhero genre because of its departure from the traditional final fist fight between the hero and the villain. Strange cannot win a fight here, so he has to use his wits to solve the problem in a pretty inventive way, which I really enjoyed. And also the movie is pretty damn impressive visually. The jumps between dimensions, the dimension folding, reversing and slowing time, it's all pretty damn great, especially the big set pieces clearly inspired by Inception. The one thing I would have liked done differently is that the magic seems a bit underwhelming. These sorcerers seem mostly to just conjure magical weapons and then fight with them anyway. I do think there was room for more, as evidenced by what we already saw later from Strange in the Avengers movies. But I kind of get that Marvel wanted to be careful, introduce the magic slowly for the casual viewer, not to overwhelm them, so that's alright. Fingers crossed it gets wilder and better in the upcoming sequel. And also, another criticism that comes to mind is that Mads Mikkelsen is kind of wasted in the role. He's such a versatile and charismatic actor, and I feel that he doesn't really have a lot to do with the role of Caecilius in this film. So I think he could have been utilized better. But even with these two criticisms, I think Doctor Strange remains a very solid film with fantastic visuals, great character arc for the main hero, and interesting supporting characters. Tilda Swinton, which is an amazing factor in and of itself, and a lot more poignancy that may be expected from a superhero film.